Hello, good day. This is Jeremy Ramlochan and this is Itec 360, and today we're going to be talking about network availability. So let's get right into it. So today most of my material will be taken from the CISSP prep guide, and we're going to get right into it with the meaning, or as they would say, the definition of network availability. Network availability can be defined as an area of the telecommunications and network security domain that directly affects the information systems security tenet of availability. Now, I know hearing that can be a little mind-boggling, or at least a little confusing, so I got another definition of what availability is. Availability is a probabilistic measure of the length of time a system or network is functioning. And to go even further, a general calculated percentage is 99.999%, which is a carrier grade availability, or of a carrier caliber. Carriers as in Digicel, or someone that provides you something. And that right there would be a network that has high availability. Also, a network that has high availability would have minimal downtime and repair times. Just to drive this point home, the unavailability of a 99.999% available system is 5.3 minutes per year, not month, per year. Next on the agenda, we will be talking about fault-tolerant systems. Now, you may have heard of RAID and all the wonderful things it could do, but we will not be talking about that today. We have some other types of redundancy that we would like to share with you. Firstly, I'd like to talk about redundant servers. So a redundant server implementation takes the concept of RAID 1, which is mirroring, so there's RAID 0 and then there's RAID 1, and applies it to a pair of servers. So instead of hard drives, there are servers. A primary server mirrors its data to a secondary server, thus enabling the primary to roll over, air quotes, to the secondary in the case of primary server failure. The secondary server steps in and takes over for the primary server in the event of some kind of failure. I would just like to note that this type of redundant server is also called a server fault tolerance. Next up, we have server clustering. A server cluster is a group of independent servers which are managed as a single system, which provides higher availability, easier manageability, and greater scalability in the scheme of all things. In many ways, redundant servers and server clustering are the same, but all the servers are online and are taking part in processing service requests. By enabling the secondary servers to provide processing time, the cluster acts as an intelligent entity and balances all the traffic load to improve performance. And yes, I would agree that this is good and all, but over time the cluster suffers from performance degradation. Performance degradation is basically the physical parts of the server degrading by year or stress or performance used. So however long it's been used, or for how long it's been used, the server's life would be cut down. Now, moving along to the basic concepts of data backup and what a data backup is. First off, what is a backup? A backup is a copy of a file or other item of data made in case the original is lost or damaged, and that came from the Oxford Dictionary. There are different types of backup methods, and we're going to talk about the tape backup method. And the purpose of the tape backup is to protect and or restore lost, corrupted, or deleted information, thereby preserving the data integrity and ensuring network availability. Within the tape backup realm, there are three types of backups: full backups, incremental backups, and differential backups. The full backup method makes a complete backup of every file on the server every time it is run. This method is primarily run when time and tape space permits and is used for system archive or baseline tape sets. So essentially, once the server is running, a backup has been made, and every time the server runs, a backup will be made. The incremental backup method only copies files that have been recently added or changed that date and ignores any other backup set. It is usually accomplished by resetting the archive bit on the files after they have been backed up. This method is used if time and space is an extreme premium. However, this method has some inherent vulnerabilities. The differential backup method, however, only copies files that have changed since a full backup was last performed. So between your first backup and your second backup, however long that may be a week or a month, I don't think you'd want to go a month though without backing up your information. But if it may be that long, each day it has to save what has been changed and then add that all to your full backup, which would be a second backup. Okay, moving along, next I want to talk about the different types of tape formats. And there are 4 types of tape formats: digital audio tape, 1/4-inch cartridge, 8mm tape, and digital linear tape. Now they each have their own specs when it comes to capacity, their max transfer rate and cost, but I wouldn't be going into that. I just thought I should mention. Like I said earlier, tapes are not the only way to back up files and media. There are other types of backup. Compact discs are write once, read many optical discs. Zip drives, however, are frequently used for the individual backups of small data sets of specific application data. So it's a lot less used than CDs and for much smaller things than CDs would have generally been used for. And a tape array is a large hardware/software system that uses RAID technology. It is a large device that consists of multiple tapes that are configured and designed to be used as a single array. And even though it's just a single array, it is very fast and can do a lot of multitasking. Performance is top notch. And now in the event that you need something to be the closest and it appears as an infinite disk to the system. So you can imagine the types of instances or situations that this would be very useful in. Okay, and so backup in and of itself is an amazing feature. And that's whether you decide to do it manually or use its autonomous feature. But just like anything else, it has its problems, it has its downsides, and it has its faults. The first common issue that usually occurs has to do with slow data transfer of the backup. Now, all backups usually take a lot of time, especially depending on the size of the data, the volume of the data that needs to be copied. And it could take an incredible amount of time to do so. Not only that, but the restoration of the data also must be factored in to any disaster recovery plan. So, you don't want all of this being done during high peak times of the day where the server would be crowded, because that would just take up a lot of time and a lot of resources that would be needed elsewhere. So as I've said, over time, the size of the backup increases, and as that increases, the intensity of the work that is needed to be done grows as well. And now that the data volume grows and expands, the backup process is now overwhelmed. It's slowed down, and therefore it must be monitored regularly in case of some kind of failure. And lastly, today I'll be talking about single points of failure. A single point of failure is an element in a network design that, if it fails or is compromised, can negatively affect the entire network. But other than the physical attributes of the network design, such as the coaxial cables or the type of cable used, or the fact that the cable could be broken, or even the misjudgment of the network architect, there are other single points of failure that I'm going to mention, which can be unintentionally created by not building redundancy into the network design. Alright, for example, network devices can create a single point of failure when all network traffic in or out of the network passes through the single device or a single device. This can happen with firewalls, routers, hubs and switches. All single devices should have redundant units installed or redundant. And to make it easier to understand, let's just say you have a job to do, and all that is required is a hammer, one nail, a pencil, and a handful of other stuff. And on the job, the nail breaks. What are you gonna do? Run back home? No. The thing is, you always come prepared. Or you need something with a lot more leverage. So simply put, just as you need backups in the real world, you need backups